Hello and welcome to Norrathian Odyssey. I am your host Ardwulf, and today I am going to walk you through some basic gameplay in EverQuest II. We have a brand new character here. He is a human Inquisitor, not the most, shall we say, daring of class choices, but it will serve our purposes very well. I have just zoned in. I have done absolutely nothing yet, and I'm going to walk you through the first little while of gameplay with some commentary along the way. We are in the Timorous Deep starting zone that is attached to the city of Gorwyn, which is an evil city, but it's kind of neutral in that citizens of good cities, I think, are not attacked on sight by the guards. We can look around here and we see that there's some NPCs standing around. These NPCs with the yellow feathers above their heads are quest givers, so we will want to talk to them. We can control our movement with the WASD keys. I personally prefer to use the mouse. And we left click to talk on these guys. Let me X out of there. You can actually right click and select hail. There are some NPCs that will let you select attack, so make sure you don't do that unless you absolutely mean to. These guys are fully voiced down here in this zone. Not every zone is like this, but this is an example of a zone that is fully voiced. So we can read the considerable quest text, and we can ignore the pop-up boxes and the tutorial hints. And we have another quest over here, and we can see our quest log over here, the quest tracker. This quest is to kill 4 Heroin poachers, and I'll show you where those are in a second. This guy is apparently a root vendor. Now we can actually right-click on this guy, and okay, so he's not an actual vendor. Generally, the top dialogue option will take you through the dialogue chains and to the quest the fastest, but that is not always the case. I'm particularly bad at this, but I do encourage you to actually read the quest text. There's a lot of it, but there's a lot of lore buried in there. Now, along the bottom, we see my experience bar. The yellow represents my experience, so I'm 26% or so, 25%. Toward level 2, and the blue represents vitality, which is basically rest experience. As long as you have vitality, you get double XP from killing mobs. Now over here, we can see on the map actually, and we can pull up the big map by hitting the M key, and you can zoom in and out of this. This highlighted area is where there's a quest objective. Not every zone works like this again, but a lot of them do. Before we do that, there's our taskbar down here, and these are the number keys 1 through the equal sign. We can add a new taskbar, as we've discussed in detail in a different video, by right-clicking on it and clicking Open New Hotbar. This guy here is a heal. I prefer to keep my heals on a separate hotbar. So we will target and combat. We will target this. There's a way to turn those off, but I've never really bothered to do that. Nominally because I'm playing all old characters that don't need the tutorials anymore, but in practice that's not the case. And you notice my auto attack's not on. I can hit number 1 and the mob instantly dies, so it didn't matter. I can right click on the mob to select loot, and there is an auto loot option, by the way, which is turned off for this particular character. And the Heroin poachers do not like the crabs. I can't argue with that. I hate crabs. The Inquisitor is a relatively melee-oriented class. They are healers. They will chiefly heal through proc heals, which means that they will use abilities that will then activate a heal on an enemy hitting them or hitting an enemy or something like that. In the case of the Inquisitor, honestly, I'm not really sure how it works. I've never played this class before, past like level 5 anyway. As we've discussed in the character creation video, the classes come in pairs. I've killed 4 of them already, so I'll head back to the quest giver. The classes come in pairs, and the 2 classes in the pair are not particularly distinct until about level 10. For the most part, there are some examples, and that's a ding. I hit level 2, and I'm actually halfway to level 3. Now you notice along the hotbar, and you will get new abilities as you level. You do not need to go to a trainer for those. We'll accept the quest reward. We will continue to ignore the tutorial hints. And this guy's got another quest over here. Other guy. And can't fit through there. So in the interests of speeding this along, we will not take too much time. This guy out here, once we hit level 3 or 4 or something like that, this guy out here will have a quest for us as well. An exciting fishing quest. So we need Grit Gorger Claws. And we can see that that's in this area here from the highlight. This is all shallow water. There is a swimming skill which will determine your swimming speed. My main ability here, let's look at this second one. This is a decreases mitigation of target versus all damage by 41. Basically, mitigation is armor protection. I do want to continue to use my melee abilities with this character, but it's not particularly important at this level. So we got to kill basically 4 of these. We're going to find that by and large the mobs do drop the quest items 100% of the time at these low levels. Again, that's not the case throughout the game. There's a lot of variation in styles of quests and objectives and all that in EverQuest II. It is an enormous game. And it's developed over a pretty long period, so there is some variation, some design philosophy changes happened during the course of the game's development. And Condemn here actually lasts 1 minute 12 seconds, which is really odd. Unless you're fighting a boss or something, that's not really going to be a factor. We can see that there's a little feather on my minimap up here. Those are over here. We'll get to those soon enough. Like I said, there is a swimming skill. Pretty much what it does is it affects how fast you swim. But you don't actually increase it. You do increase it by using it, but not until you're actually swimming. That was just waiting. Okay, so now we see that there's actually a quest to send us out here to the reef, or whatever this is. I got loot. And I'm pretty sure I should actually be swimming here. I'm going to pull up my inventory by hitting the B button. You can see that I have 6 bags. I would normally rearrange these. You can drag these wherever you like. You can also lock them into position, which I'm not going to bother to do, since this is merely the character I am using for this tutorial and not somebody I intend to continue to play. I've got 13 characters. That is enough. This is a legend and lore item. We're going to probably get to that some other time. We'll equip the gauntlets. They're not too bad looking. The Inquisitor is a plate-wearing class. We'll accept this quest and fish up some Tricori saltfin. Okay, now we're going to touch on harvesting here. Out in, and it happens to be right off where this guy is. If you tab, you'll target the various different saltfin nodes that are here, and you can left-click on these. And you sometimes got to go right up to the edge of the water. You can left-click on these to harvest from them. And sometimes nothing will be found, but it'll tell me that I'm getting better at fishing. The cap on these harvesting skills, anybody can harvest anything. There's no, like, you have to pick a harvesting profession. But the level of the skill is capped at 5 times your higher level between adventuring and crafting. And that's something that we'll probably get to at some point. You can see that I have 1 Tricori saltfin already, and we're probably going to hit the cap on this. But 15 is actually a good place to be at this level. Your skill will determine what kind of nodes you can harvest. Higher level nodes take a higher skill, and so I think tier 2, which is basically levels 10 through 20, I think requires a skill of 20 to harvest. So by the time I leave this level 10 area, I'm going to want to have my... okay, we got that guy. I'm going to want to have my harvesting skills above level.
It's a pity you didn't fish up any bull sawfin, however. I appreciate it.
Oh, so he wants me to catch some more fish. So we'll try and catch some more fish. This is a particular fish that he wants me to fish up. And sometimes this takes a little while, and sometimes it doesn't. Now this sunfish is just like a generic harvest from fishing that you can cook with it. Trade skilling is something that will be the subject of a future video. It's quite in-depth in EverQuest II. There's a lot you can do. I do recommend, even if you don't intend to get into trade skilling, and there are people that don't really like, I have already caught it and wasn't paying attention. There are some people that just don't like crafting, and that's cool. But I do recommend you harvest, because when you start getting into the higher level harvests especially, you can make a bundle on the broker with this stuff. I should be not walking here, I don't think. No, it's actually shallow. Never mind. That's the reflection of the cliffs. Very nice water, environmental, and atmospheric effects in this game. The engine is aging in some respects, but in other respects, it's... let's see, I need some samples of this ore, and I can see this on my objective map as well. Let's look at our new abilities here. Okay, this one is a dot, which means it does damage over time. It does X amount of damage over however many seconds. This is another heal. Now we're actually swimming, and you can see my swimming skill is increasing. This is a buff, which means that it permanently enhances my abilities. So we'll activate that, and you can see that that went into effect over here. Close the taskbar, and it actually shows up over here as well. Put that right there. And this heal we'll put up here with the other heals. I have the rotation down so that I tend to trigger dots first. So now, these guys right here, these Heroin Diggers, you'll notice that their names are outlined in red. And what that means is that they are aggroable mobs. They will attack you without you attacking them first if you get too close to them. And this is the ore that I'm supposed to grab 3 pieces of. And these work just like harvesting nodes. In fact, they may even increase my mining as I do it. It does. So we got 1 piece there. We'll kill this other one. Actually, I want to throw the debuff to mitigation on the enemy before I hit them with the big direct damage spell. And this will be the 3rd and final piece of these that I need. You can see that there's some more quests up here too, but we're not really going to bother with those yet. I'm not sure that we are going to get to them in the context of this video. This is pretty much to show you the basics. If you have played World of Warcraft, and many people who will watch this video may have, then you will be familiar with certainly the way you move around and the way that you activate your abilities, but a lot of the nuances to this game are different than World of Warcraft. They launched about the same time, and they have developed kind of differently over the course of their lives. In certain periods, it seemed like EverQuest II was trying to wowify itself, but that has not been the case throughout EQ2's life. And now, it seems to me anyway, that let's put these boots on. Hopefully they'll look better than the... None of the starter armor looks cool, by the way, except the Druid ones, the Warden and the Fury. Theirs look cool. Everybody else's looks pretty stupid, I think. But you replace it quickly enough. You can see I got 2 pieces. I'm level 4, and it's taken, 8 minutes? And I'm taking my time. You can go through these first 5 levels in really just a few minutes. Now you notice that up here on my minimap we have some of these feathers which indicate quests, and this book which indicates that we have a quest to turn in. Those will show up on the big map too, but you have to be a certain distance away from them. They won't just show up across the zone. So let's do the turn in first. This will probably kick me to level 5.
Well met.
No, guess not. So we'll pick up that quest. This is Horians excavating the tunnel northwest, and a sample of whatever other ore they're digging up.
Greetings.
Now, a bunch of these guys up here will be vendors. What they're vendors of, you can tell because they'll have a little name in angled brackets under their name. And when you mouse over them, they will have a little coin icon. So I can left-click on this guy, and I can either buy or sell from him. And I'm going to just sell this Aviac beak. Actually, I'm not, because I can... oh, and by the way, this guy's selling containers. I have 7 silver. I've clicked on the wrong guy. This guy's selling containers. We'll sell at least 1 8-slot bag. Yep, there we go. This is a 4, 6, and 8-slot bags. These are not especially expensive. If I pull up my inventory, you'll notice I have 5 4-slot bags. So even if you're like completely new and you don't have other characters that can make you bags or money to buy bags or whatever, I can buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these with no trouble. And then I can pull up my character window by hitting C. And I can just drag these off into oblivion. I cannot vendor these bags, so... And these bags, by the way, get arbitrarily large. You can get, I think there's like 50-slot bags or something like that. You can have an insane amount of inventory in this game. It's kind of an inventory-heavy game in many respects, but, I mean, it's not any more so than other games, really. These are the initial boots that I got to start out with. We'll throw those away. We can't sell those either. You can tell that when it says no sell. This one says no trade, no value, for example, when you mouse over it. This is actually a sack. We can't sell that either, so we're going to throw that away. That's what we got as a reward for one of those quests, but it's smaller than the bags we have now. And again, you can drag these wherever you like. Make them lined up. At least sort of okay here. Okay, and we got another quest over here. We're going to pick that up.
Greetings! Welcome to Great.
And do we have another quest? You can zoom in or out with the mouse wheel on either the mini map or the main map. So we need briny lizard meat, and we need unearthed relics. The unearthed relics are down here. You do take falling damage in this game. Let me show you that as I demonstrate. This guy's in red. He's a guard. You notice he has a different icon. That means that you can click on him and ask for a location of, say, the broker or the banker or whatever, and they will put a waypoint on your map so that you can get to those. Here's an unearthed relic, so we'll pick that up by left-clicking on it. Now these, where you're just picking stuff up off the ground, these do not increase a harvesting skill. You can see that I'm tabbing back and forth here, and I'm picking up a lot of different types of nodes. This here is a Deity Altar. You can actually pick a deity to worship in EverQuest II, and you can get special abilities by doing that. Looking for more of those relics. Oh, good. Here's a shiny. I want to show you that too. Now, this is another thing that it may seem like I don't really care about that because it's not part of adventuring. You want to, if you see these shinies on the ground, you want to pick them up, because this does have a concrete effect on your character power in terms of experience. We see another one over here, so we're going to go grab that. Okay, so we have these two things, and we're going to right-click on them and click Examine. And that will show us the collections. And we can put these collections together. We can add this shard to this collection or this other collection. And when you complete the collection, there will be someone you can turn those into, generally in the major cities. They function as quests, so they will show up as markers on your map. And you get... depending on what the collection is, you get experience, and it's actually a pretty decent amount of experience. And you also can get a piece of loot or gear. So they're worth doing. And sometimes, actually, the reward is another collectible. This is, let's see here. We need to unearth relics. So we're still looking for unearthed relics, and we have to get kill some other stuff here. Right? Briny lizard meat from the lizards in the time-worn pools. Those are not quite right here. Ah, here's another relic. Some more NPCs down here. Sell armor and weapons. Don't buy armor or weapons. Either buy it on the broker or make it yourself through trade skilling. And it looks like we're going to be able to pick up all of the remaining relics that we need over here. These spawn over kind of a wide area. Sometimes you're out on the beach. And I've completed that objective. Let's look at our big map here. And here's our briny lizard meat area that we have to get to, so let's head over there. I really like the trade skilling in this game. It's a very sophisticated trade skilling system. There are quests, there are all kinds of things you can do with those. Quest givers are up on top of the ridge, so we're not going to get to those today. The crafting system, first of all, unlike certain other games, the gear that you can make and the stuff that you can make by crafting is actually worthwhile, with the exception of the potions. The potions, not so much, although the poisons are worthwhile. Okay, now you see, next when I click on one of these guys, there's like a little feather in a circle over their names. That's brand new. What that means is that that creature is either a quest objective or drops a quest objective. So we'll kill a couple more of these guys. And I can heal myself if need be. But I'm not taking a lot of damage. You're not going to find that the level 1 to 5 content is especially challenging in EverQuest II. But once you hit level Heroic Opportunities, that's something that we'll also probably get to in a later video when we talk about grouping. This particular ability activates a Heroic Opportunity, which basically drops, it's basically a buff that the whole group can contribute to by triggering their abilities in the right order. Okay, this is a buff, I believe. It is, so we'll throw that on myself. That never hurts. And let's look for these Heroin, whatever they are. Okay, and I can place waypoints on the map, by the way, and it will actually show me. I don't see the trail. Sometimes it'll like show a glowing trail that will lead you to the waypoint. You can also type /way and type in coordinates, and it will definitely show you a glowing trail, which is handy sometimes. Sometimes you just have to look stuff up to find out where the objective is. We can get rid of that. And I'm pretty sure all these things are non-aggro. The bird guys, when we get to the cave, will be... ooh, they're non-aggro, but they do that. I see a shiny on top of the hill. Hello! Way up in the air. I seem to recall taking falling damage from that at one point. Maybe they don't do that now. We got another shard here. And we've got some bird guys and some aggro bird guys. So let's get rid of the aggro guys. Whoa! That's not cool. On the other hand, it took me out of the enemy's range. So that's something. These guys down there are non-aggro as well. These guys, looks like I have to kill the Heroin excavators, so we'll knock out a couple of these guys. There'll be a guy, a named guy in the back. Let's get rid of this dude. Probably get swept up by another sandstorm. The guy in the back that I'm mousing over, Excavator Bowler, is a named. That's what we call him in EQ2. This particular guy is not elite or anything, but he is a named, so he will grant extra AA XP. Not that that really matters, but he'll usually drop a piece of loot as well. They'll usually drop treasure chests, even at the low levels. AA means alternate advancement, and that is something that we're again going to get into in a different video. You can think talent points if you like, even though it doesn't really work that way. I am activating my abilities like a true noob here, just punching them in order. And these guys dropped some fairly decent looking stuff that this I can use, but it's a level 10 item. That's actually a pretty good item. Hang on to that guy. And here's the rubble that I'm supposed to harvest. And the excavators all stood up and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" There are quests, by the way. You saw that they had little word bubbles over them with gibberish in them. As you play, you actually can learn their languages, and this is true of a lot of creatures in EverQuest II. And then after you know their language, when you complete the quest, oh, fantastic. I'm nowhere near dying here, so I'm not terribly worried about it. I'm gonna aggro the other guy. I didn't aggro him. How about that? Okay, so we'll head back over here. Maybe get shot in the air a couple more times, because that's just fun. I even headed in the right direction. Very good. I have a terrible sense of direction. Not just in EverQuest II, I'm afraid. Many long arguments in the car with Mrs. Ardwulf have ensued, usually ending in, "Oh yeah, you're right. Should have gone this way. Sorry." Another little collectible piece there. Now, I'm not adding these to collections because, to be honest about it, I'm going to take these back and put them in my bank for the characters that I'm going to continue to play. Yeah, we got a shiny over here. These are totally worth getting. The collections themselves are kind of hard to put together. Sometimes in the starter areas, particularly in the new starter areas, you'll have a decent chance to put together a couple of collections, 2 or 3 collections, if you take your time and pick up as many of them as you can. How do I get up here again? There is collision detection in EverQuest II, by the way, with hostile mobs or potentially hostile mobs. It's not something that's actually come up so far. This is a fairly scenic zone, I think. Not the coolest looking place in EverQuest II, but it's not the dullest starter zone either. The dullest starter zones were the old starter zones, the Isle of the Overlord and I think Queen's Isle that they got rid of. I really liked them. I was sorry to see them go, but I totally understand why they got rid of them, because these starter zones provide a more directed 1 to 20 experience. In the old starter zones, you would, and I got an achievement. There are achievements in this game too. By the way, your quest journal, if it's a journal because you pull it up by pressing the J key, you can check your quests here. You can see how many quests you've completed. So I've completed 10 quests, and it'll break these down by zones. You can check your storylines, so you can see how far along you are in these particular storylines within the game. And this is kind of like a textual journal of the quests that you've completed, even though you can just see the number of them here too. And you can see achievements. And I've got one whole achievement, which is the quests achievement. And you can get these for, the main part of the game is Shattered Lands. All these other areas are areas brought in through expansions. So we can, is this the guy? This is my guy.
Greetings. I am tertiary.
Pick up this quest. And as you go through this level 1 to 10 content, you'll get pretty much a complete suit of gear. You will not find the level 1 to 10 content particularly challenging. When you get to 10 to 20, that's when the instances start to open up for you. and some other opportunities in the game start to open up for you. This is the entire zone of Timorous Deep. This isle is basically the 1 to 10 zone. This isle is basically the 10 to 20 zone, and this isle is the city of Gorwyn. And you can see that there's Griffin stations. You can fly around, but we actually have to get to one first. Okay, so we need to collect scavenged relics. We need to collect some acid sacks from the crusty rust beasts. Oh no, this happens in this game too. You can auto-decline these, by the way. Let's do that. If we pull up the character panel, which we do by pressing C, we can go to options and we can say decline duels. So this person is obviously a Nimrod. And we can decline trades and group invites and stuff like that. So, and you can even change the voice. I've got the sound turned down, so it's kind of hard to hear these things. But you have a bunch of different choices for your in-combat voices and your out of combat voice, which is kind of cool. You can hide your cloak, you can hide your cloak. You can show your cloak, or you can show your melee weapons on your back or your bow on your back. You can show your hood or helm or hide it. You can flag yourself as looking for work. That's LFW. If I target myself, I can see that. That means basically that I am a crafter and I am looking to work for hire. I can flag myself as AFK. I can flag myself as role-playing, which actually makes my level level and game stats invisible to casual observers. You can still see it. And I can make myself anonymous, which means I don't show up in player searches. Which I might as well take a look at that too. Down here is your basic command button. And you can click on guilds. We've talked about this before. This will let you search for guilds that are recruiting. There is a dungeon finder, which works like dungeon finders in other games. It will put you in a group with a bunch of random people, and you're not eligible for it until you hit level 20. To this day, I have never actually used it. There is the Dungeon Maker, which is something that was brought in with the Age of Discovery expansion. You have to own the Age of Discovery expansion to use it, but it basically lets you create player-created dungeons. That is a scene in EverQuest II that's just kind of now starting to mature. One of the things on test right now is the ability to play your own characters as opposed to stock mobs in the player-made dungeons. So that's going to be a big improvement right there. There are also housing leaderboards, and this is something we'll get into when we do a video on housing, which won't be too long. I would show you my house, but it's shitty. And you can actually tour all these different houses, and the level of detail put into some of these is amazing. There will be an entire lengthy video just on tours of these houses. It's amazing. And they range in size from little 1- and 2-room apartments down to giant castles and stuff. I mean, it's amazing. This is a castle that somebody literally built piece by piece out in one of the house zones. So the housing is, just to get this out of the way, the housing is instanced, but there are what are also called prestige houses, which do cost station cash. You buy them in the station cash store, and there's a couple of them that are not only really, well, there's a bunch of them that are really big. They're mostly really big, but there are a couple that are basically like whole small zones where it's just open terrain and you can put trees in it or houses or whatever you want. It's quite neat. Still, personally, not even sure how that works, to be honest. I am still trying to make my little 2-room apartment in New House look cool. Not entirely successfully. So we got to collect some tortoise eggs from the dunes. So we're going to go do that. So I think if you've been watching this long, you have a sense of the basic EverQuest II gameplay. It is not radically different at this level from other vaguely, broadly similar MMOs. But as you continue to progress through the game, there's a lot of things that EverQuest II does that few, if any, other games do. The housing is one example. The extremely well-developed crafting system is another example. There's a lot of games with relatively rudimentary crafting. Crafting's, I think, worth doing in this game. I was never a particular fan of it in World of Warcraft, nor did I... What else do I have to do over here? How many more tortoise eggs do I need? Obviously, well, I obviously need one more. There's one down there. You can scroll through this too. And you know what? We've shown this in a different video, but we're going to expand the quest journal so that we can actually see the quest. You can scroll through it if you don't have an expanded, but that's a little too much of a hassle. And we have plenty of screen real estate here. I'm playing in, this is basically 1080p, and I have not found it to be short of screen real estate in any meaningful way. Even when I'm like doing banking and I have all my bank windows up and just a crazy amount of stuff. Here's a heroin scavenger, which is one of the dudes we need to kill. And I need to kill... four of them, it looks like. Spell effects in this game are not as varied as I would like them to be, but they're generally pretty good. There's a particular spell effect that is a necromancer spell effect that I think is really awesome looking. And I do have a necromancer, so I'll probably show that up. I have no idea what this ability even does. It just does damage. That's perfectly fine. Gotta kill more than one of these. There's also no global cooldown, so after you trigger an ability, what else do we have to do in this area? Collect acid sacks from the crusty rust beasts. Let's find some crusty rust beasts. You can sort of see my collision detection there. For that type of mob, it's not particularly precise. Here's the rust beasts. There we go. So let's kill these. So we will complete this round of quests, head back to the quest hub, and then I will probably be done with this video. We'll see what else I can show you in the meantime. EverQuest II is a game I've played quite a bit of. I've never actually hit the level cap. I have done a couple dungeons and group things with different groups. It's really one of the most mature MMOs out there. It's extremely feature rich. The housing is at this point kind of best in class housing. The only game that had housing that I think you could truthfully say was comparable was Star Wars Galaxies, which of course has been shut down. Also by SOE, but SOE didn't ever frame it this way, but that really wasn't their call. I'm pretty sure there were still a fair number of people playing Star Wars Galaxies, and I'm thinking that SOE would have been perfectly happy to let it continue to run forever, or at least for a lot more time than it got. So this is a specific point that we have to get to. So let's go do that. We can see there's another quest up there. Of course, if you have none of these guys, I think I just have to kill some of these ritualists. And that will disrupt their whatever nefarious business it is that they're engaged in. Which looks like it's infusing one of their buddies with power here. Which we don't want to happen. In this zone, we're basically working for the Sarnak, who are like these dragon guys. They are they're an available race for players. I don't like them. I just don't like the way they look. But they're actually kind of neat. The females are actually bigger than the males, which is true of many species. But they're a little less anthropomorphic than we typically get in MMOs, which I think is cool. So it looks like I have to kill all these guys. Or maybe I just kill the big one in the middle. That might have worked too. But hey, I get XP for this. It's all good. This ability down here, by the way, that you start the game with is a sprint ability, Lets you exhaust your power pretty much completely. Now I can fight that guy, but I just hit him once and he dies. So the power infusion thing that they're doing appears to have been less than successful. We have a shiny over here. These are called shinies colloquially by the community. Technically they are called collectibles. I will also show you some of the other wrinkles in a future video regarding how the banks work, how the brokers work, how the trade skilling works. Trade skilling is kind of a giant kettle of fish to unwrap in this game, because there's so much to it. There are, like I said, there are quest lines. There are even instances that are trade skilling instances. I believe, and I could be misremembering this because I've never been in it. This is at or near max trade skill level that you do this type of activity. But I believe there is a trade skill instance that is a dragon's lair. And your objective is to, while the dragon is out, so you're limited in time, you have to go in and redecorate while the dragon is out, which I think is hilarious. That could be bullshit, I don't know. But if it's true, that's hilarious. Plus all the crafting quest lines. There's crafting gear you can get. There are characters who pretty much... There are players, I should say, who just play EverQuest II for the crafting. It's one of relatively few games, along with, say, EVE Online, where it's really kind of viable to do that. Vanguard's like that, too.
Well, did you find them? Well, I'm glad we put a stop to them.
That guy kind of sounds like Mark Hamill as the Joker.
I'm sure he'll put the...
All the Sarnax pretty much sound like that.
Did you retrieve?
And here we hit level 7, so we'll get some new abilities. When you level, you get new abilities. You don't have to visit a trainer or anything. That does change after a while. There are certain things that you have to go to a trainer and buy. Let's look at our gear real quick before we go. We have a piece of plate wrist armor, so put that on. That doesn't really show on the avatar. And if we continue to pursue this quest line, we'll get a full suit of not terribly bad looking plate armor for this character. And if we look at its statistics, it'll probably be plus wisdom stuff. Yeah, plus wisdom, plus stamina. You basically have... Stamina is kind of important for everybody, sort of, because it affects your hit points. Wisdom is the key ability for clerics. So all clerics, or all priests, I should say. So clerics, meaning Templars and Inquisitors, druids, meaning wardens and furies, and shamans, meaning mystics and defilers. The wisdom is their key stat. It's intelligence for mages, it's strength for fighters, and it's dex for rogues. And you can see your stats down here, and there's a lot of miscellaneous stuff involved here that we're not going to get to in the context of this video. So what we have done here is to give you a basic taste of low-level EverQuest II gameplay as a completely new player might experience it. If you haven't tried EverQuest II, it is free to play. If you become serious about the game, you will in all likelihood wish to subscribe because it's just a better deal, but you can play a considerable amount of it for free. And I played most of last summer for free, and I think I put like 200 hours in or something crazy like this. This is a mailbox. Here in Gorowin, we do have the coolest looking mailboxes, and we have some miscellaneous things here. This is the Welcome to Norrath mail that every new character gets. This is a harvesting potion that increases your harvesting experience, and this is a poll that we're not going to take because we've already filled it out on 4 or 5 other characters. So we're going to wrap this up. I hope you have enjoyed watching the show. By all means, subscribe to the Ardwulf's Lair YouTube channel for more videos like this, including the Norrathian Odyssey show and Ardwulf Presents, which is my other show about a bunch of different MMOs, including, but by no means limited to, EverQuest II. There is a Norrathian Odyssey feed that you can check that out. That will this video will be a part of. Down in the notes below, you will find, in addition to a summary of this brilliant video, you will find a note link to my website at ardwulfslair.wordpress.com, as well as links to me on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, so you can add me to your social networking circles. So by all means, do that. and subscribe to the channel. We have more Norrathian Odyssey videos ahead. I hope you've enjoyed watching this one.